welcome to another episode in Impact, and we are glad you have joined us. Today we have Alethea Salmon, and she is going to share with us life and how she have been impacted by whether it's a teacher, parents, or adults in her life, and how she is now impacting others. So thank you for joining us, Alethea.
Hello, and thanks for having me, Craig. It's a pleasure being here. I am just going to give you a few experiences that I had in life growing up and how these adults or people that I had looked up to had really made a big difference in my life and had helped mold me into the woman I am today.
Yeah, the woman you are today. Who is that woman? Well, tell us about Alethea.
I'm very extroverted.
I agree with that.
To the point where if it's too quiet, I get a bit concerned. I really like adventure. I really like trying new things. I'm all about being happy and transferring that happiness to everyone. I hate to see people in the corner looking down or excluded, and I feel like I need to get them involved because there's this person inside them that's full of excitement and adventure that needs to come out, and if it takes me to bring it out, then I sure shall. I'm confident, not as confident as people might think, but I'm very confident, and maybe because I did say I'm not as confident as people might think, but I stand up for what is right, and I'm not afraid to do it on my own.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. You know, I always say, I never said this to your face, Alethea, but I always say that when I think about you, you're like salt. You're in everything. It doesn't matter if it's old or young, far or wide, you're in everything. So you're like salt to me, and it's a good thing to be always involved. Tell us about your career. What do you do now?
I am a pediatric nurse. It's more than a career to me. I love it with every part of me. It's like second home.
Okay. Now, always want to know, you are now a pediatric nurse, but where did it all start? Tell us about Alethea, the child growing up as a young, toddler, as far back as you can remember.
So I had always loved teaching. I used to teach my little cousins and little children in my community. It went as far as I had a basic school, or should I say a primary school, like a made-up primary school. It actually had a name. It was called Appleberry Primary. And my auntie, my family really, really, really encouraged it, where my auntie made the uniforms for these kids. And the color of the uniform was purple and yellow. I loved purple because I loved Barney. And my dad really encouraged it. But we had like an open space in the back of the house, and these kids used to come over, and I used to be the teacher. I actually used to teach them. I really helped some of them because some of them were behind in class. And I'm telling you, I was like 12, 13, being a teacher.
So you have been a teacher since you're 12. Now, where did that skill or that interest come from? What about your time in primary school or growing up in basic school?
You know what? I cannot remember much of primary school, which is weird. Primary school is a blur to me, but I will tell you what pushed me into teaching. I grew up with the extended family. So all my family lived on the same street. And I had loads of smaller cousins and older cousins with smaller kids. And I used to always be the babysitter. And I loved it. I enjoyed the changing, the making of the milk. So I was always around children. And I always used to watch all these children programs, Sesame Street.
You still watch them, I'm sure.
I still watch it. Sesame Street, and learning was fun. And it was fun watching kids learning and enjoying it, but yet having fun at the same time. So it pushed me into teaching. I literally used to reenact everything I saw on Barney. So I'd watch an episode of Barney, and then I'll get the kids in the community and my smaller cousins, and we'll reenact the scene of Barney.
So therefore, you from a young age, technology or what was happening on television impacted you to create life.
Yes.
So do you think that is still happening today with young children, or do you think things have changed?
I would say 50-50. Social media plays a big part in our lives, and I don't see there's nothing wrong with it, but nowadays it's becoming a bit too excessive, because the things that are on social media, because I learned a lot of stuff from like children television programs, Barney, Sesame Street, this science program that I used to watch, the Reading Rainbow, shows you how old I am. Reading Rainbow. It got me into reading. Yeah. Really, it got me into reading. And but what I realized about social media is that the things that they're sharing is not beneficial to your future most of the time. It's not beneficial to your growth, whether it's spiritual, physical, or mental. It's just not beneficial. And so therefore, as parents, as adults around children, we need to stream the things that our kids watch. As I said, there's nothing wrong with social media, because we all learn from something someone posted or shared on the internet or on the television. But it's becoming excessive, and on some of the things that are shared, it's unnecessary and not beneficial to one's growth, especially kids.
So you have been impacted at an early age with technology, yeah. And you will say your education was coming from a screen rather than from the classrooms, because you can't remember your primary school years. So most of that education was through what you're watching.
Yeah. Through what I was watching and adults around me. So the first lesson I learned from an adult around me, I must say, is from my mother. In the early stage of my life, my mother was a housewife, and my dad obviously was the breadwinner. And so I never, if you had come to my house, I had people come to my house before, and someone asked me, "Can I move your cushion?" Someone else said to me, "It's like a show house. Can I move this?" And it's because my mom was a housewife. So when I came home from school, everything was done. Everything has its place. Everything was clean. Everything was neat. My dinner was always made. Breakfast was always made when I woke up. I did nothing as a child, really. My first chore was to wash my school ribbons, and I wore a tie in school, primary school, and my school socks, and that was it. And they were navy blue, so they were like easy for kids to do. So there's no dirt showing, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I learned.
You grew up with an easy life, not having to do much.
I thought that was hard. I thought that was hard.
Do you think that the fact that everything was done for you and your mom, being at home, looking after the family and taking care of basically everything, did you think you learned much from her, even though you weren't doing much with her?
Surprisingly, I did. I grew up knowing that a house is supposed to be how to keep a house kept and tidy. My role as a wife should be a woman, because I remember seeing my mother. My dad used to leave the house at 6 a.m. to go to work. And so my mother used to wake up before dawn and make breakfast and prepare his lunch. So then I assumed the role of a wife is to, especially you're not working, is supposed to be that way towards your husband. Make sure that how everyone is fed, everyone is clean, the bills are paid, and everything is tidy. And also I learned how to be a mother. I didn't know, and I'm being honest, I didn't know that I was supposed to have my child, because I'm a mother of one. He's a man now,
Yeah.
basically. He's 60 now. So I didn't know that at some point you let them do stuff. I honestly didn't know that. So all the way to even 15, I made breakfast. He slept in bed the whole day, and he would wake up to breakfast. I would prepare lunch. I would wash his clothes. I would iron this. I would do everything, because that was what was done in my house. Everything was done for you because you're the child, I'm the parent, and it's my responsibility. You didn't ask to be here. And as a child, I was taken to loads of places, theme parks, holidays. So I did the exact same thing with my son, because I benefit from that.
Yeah.
Being exposed to different culture, different people, I learned about new careers, different careers, other than from the typical, even though I'm a nurse.
Right.
That there were other careers. I just chose nursing because it was a passion. But I learned of various careers as a young child because of the people I was exposed to and the places that I'd been. And I'd done exactly the same with my son, even extracurricular activities, swimming, music. I learned that quite young. It just does make a difference.
So there are people out there who will be listening thinking, but this is not the 21st century woman. This is not the way forward. And you're just basically living what you have learned from your parents. Yeah. Do you think you would have done anything differently, or could have done anything differently? Or do you think, what your parents did was not, the best way looking back now?
The only thing, I think my bringing up was great. It was great. I had fun as a child. I was a child when I was supposed to be a child. I wasn't. You'd ask, I would go somewhere and there'll be a song, and I have got no idea what that was, because I was just never exposed to it. Cussing was never in my house. I heard it outside, but because it was never in my house, when I heard it outside, I knew it was wrong.
Yeah. So
I didn't get involved in it. The only music that was played in my house, because I don't think my parents were a fan of music. The only music was played in my house was Christian music, to be honest. So I literally only knew Christian song as a kid, and anything and all from the kids program like Barney and Sesame Street. I knew a little bit of like, what's that lady? Whitney Houston. So like those classical, but that was because of when I go to my auntie's house and my older teenager cousins would play those songs. So what was learned in the house took precedent in my heart. So when I went out, I wasn't easily influenced with the outside world. It would actually make me uncomfortable. So I think the only thing though that I have done different from my parents is that back then, kids, and I think it's also culture, children are seen and not heard. So my parents didn't have conversations with me. It was
tell you what to do.
It was always, this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do, or you're in trouble. But my auntie did have conversation with me. I love her. So that's what I do differently, even though it's hard to have a conversation with a teenager.
Yeah.
You're trying to have a conversation with them, and they have an inbuilt attitude. I don't know that.
Do you think that is what they have learned from you as a parent? Were you like that as a teenager?
Actually, I was. When I got to 13, like, no, Mom, I don't want to hang out with you. I need to go chill with my friends. That was weird. When I got to 13, I didn't want to hang out with parents anymore.
Yeah, so it is, you when you see the teenagers and children at certain age, you have to think back to where you were then, what you were doing, and seeing, it's a reflection of you basically in your children.
Yeah.
And a reflection of you and your parents.
Yeah, it's sad. My gosh, I made my parents sad then.
Well, this is what impact is all about, looking at things that we did as as children, and how we do things as adults, how we see things, and realizing the impact of life back then on our lives now, and how we are doing the same to our children and to young minds. You mentioned teaching at a young age, and you end up into nursing.
Yeah.
Which is totally different. How?
You would think it's different, but it's not really. So I love children, still love children, and I love science, and I love teaching. And nursing, specifically children nursing, combines all three. So nursing, we have science involved. I'm working with children. And also when it comes to teaching, I have to teach other nursing, because nursing is a lifelong learning career. Science involved, technology evolves, people's health get better because there are new researches, because nursing is heavily dependent on research. So therefore, I have to go. We have courses. I have to take what I've learned in these courses. I'm a senior staff nurse, so I have to teach my junior nurses. There are student nurses. We have to teach our student nurses and the parents as well for children with chronic disease. For example, I'm going to throw out one that everyone should know: diabetes. Children with, say, diabetes. We have to teach these parents how to look after these children, how to use the equipment because this is a lifelong chronic disease. So they're going home with the equipment to give the insulin and corrections and all of that. So we have to teach these parents, and also children, especially when they become teenagers, we have to involve them in their own training to look after themselves. So it does involve teaching, science, and children.
Okay,
so
that made it clear, because you started with teaching and then end up nursing, but you made that very clear how you still is living your passion of teaching. Teens. So you don't remember your primary years, and you were just touch a bit on you as a teen, and you seen your teenage son and thinking, how can you be like that? Tell us about the teen years.
Okay, I remember secondary school. I definitely remember secondary school. I've always been quite focused in school. I was an A grade student because I didn't. Jamaica is hard, They will call you pretty dunce, and I don't want to be called pretty dunce. I don't want to be called pretty dunce. And also, my dad is a mechanic. He is the first graduate in our family, and education was a big deal in the family. So therefore, coming home with a good report was very important. So I had to, and also I didn't like getting X's in my book. I need to be right. So in secondary school, I remember distinctly I must say she was a big influence in my life. I have to, Mrs. Silvera. She wasn't my English teacher, but I can't remember how she ended up in my English class, or I ended up in her English class. Can't remember, but her name was Mrs. Silvera. And I remember when we were being prepared to sit the big exam that you take at the end of secondary school. And she said, this is the time, I'm just paraphrasing. She said, this is the time when you focus and give your all in education. Because when you leave high school, Mr. If me didn't know, I go visit you. And don't waste your time wasting, like giving up the opportunity that you have now. Take advantage of what is now. Because if me didn't know, I'll come to your door and there's nothing you can do about it, because you cannot go back in time. Listen, at that moment, she had no idea what that meant for me. I am happy to say, I'm proud to say, I'm happy learning from other people's mistakes. Because if you did it and it didn't work out, I'm not doing it. So if as an adult, that's why I'm very receptive when adults give me advice.
Yeah.
Because they know what they're talking about. And I'm not talking about, come on now, I'm grown, I'm sensible. I know good and right,
Yeah.
good from bad and right from wrong. But if I'm seeing someone giving me good advice about the future, I'm going to be receptive of it.
Yeah.
Because you're coming from a place of you've been there before. Why would I want to then go down that same, make that same? That's just ludicrous to me. So I'm receptive with with receiving advice from older people.
Yeah. So you touch on a few things there that kind of sparked your influence you to do things differently in secondary school. So the first thing was name calling.
Yeah.
You're afraid of being called names, so that sparked you to make sure you're doing well.
Yeah.
And then the second thing was the X in the book.
Oh yeah.
Did you get a lot of X, and what did that do for your confidence? I know in schools now, you're not allowed to do X, you do a little dot because or you don't use red ink because they use purple or green to do marking, in schools because the red means something totally bad. What was it for you?
Really? It didn't. What it did. First of all, the X. I just didn't like to feel like I didn't do well. Especially, I think the outside world made it a little bit difficult for me because I was very sheltered and it was perceived as something negative. And even now, I'm still quite naive to an extent, and it's perceived as something negative, as if I'm trying to be what I'm not, but actually, this is really me. So not I didn't want to be called pretty dunce because I think people assume that when you're pretty, there's nothing good.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about you. And so I didn't want that stigma because I wasn't dunce. And also I wanted to make my parents proud because they worked so hard. I went to private schools, except for my primary school. I went to a prep school and then they took me out and sent me to a primary school because at prep school, I used to always finish the work too early and I wasn't getting anything from that school.
You're in
So
challenge.
there was no challenge. So I had to be taken out and sent to a primary school. So they spent a lot of money on schooling. So I wanted to make my parents proud. But the X's though, I don't want to see the X because you're streamed in primary school in Jamaica. So you don't want to be the one with all the wrong bang in your book.
So are you afraid of making mistakes? Because the X is you making a mistake, and one of the things I always say to children is that you learn from your mistake. If you don't make mistakes, you're not learning because it makes no sense to get everything right. That means you're not really learning because mistakes help you to grow. So back then, the mistake was like the end of the world, and that still happens now for you.
Yes, I am afraid of failure.
Mm.
I'm terrified of failure. I get even nervous to apply for a new job or position because I'm afraid I'm not going to get it.
Don't like to hear the word no.
Yeah, I don't want to hear the word no. Otherwise, if you hear the word, I'm going to get I'm trying not to get emotional because it's still so scary. I feel as though if I hear the word no, it means you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to feel as though I'm not good enough.
And do you think that's how you treat it's hard for you to say no to your child or to others because you don't want them to have that same feeling?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what fail means, Alethea?
Fail?
Yeah, what it really means is your first attempt in learning. That's what I say. It's always I try to get children to see failure as a fantastic thing, because there's no, if you're not failing, that means you're not moving forward. So I do understand growing up where that X and that no makes you feel that way, and it's that impact that the word no can have on you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't like hearing the word no. It's like, yeah, as I said, you're not good enough. That's why you're getting a no.
And even today, you still feel that way because of your experience from young years.
Yeah.
Mrs. Silvera, did you say?
Yeah.
She said something, and I want to hone in on that. Words. She didn't do much, but you remember what she said.
Yeah.
What you told us why that impacted you so much, but is there anything else that you have heard that have made a mark on you that you think you live your life to?
I think there are, but they're not so nice.
So there are things that you hear that kind of cause the negative effect then?
Yeah.
So in terms of action and words, which one would you say is more impactful on the mind, on you?
I think is what you say, because I feel like it's easier to do something and don't mean anything, but for someone to actually look you in the eye and say something to you directly, it means they really care, and they have been listening, and they have been attentive to you. So yeah, it's like what you say. Even at work, I would hear a child. Children are very honest, and you're a teacher, Craig. Children are very honest. There's no filter, because I don't think they have the ability to work out what's socially normal to say and acceptable and what's not.
But shouldn't we be like that? Shouldn't we be like?
We should be like children, but boy, children have no tact. A child said to me once, I don't realize it. She actually became a Christian, and she said she got baptized, and she said it was because of me, which is, I was a bit shocked, because I've never, go and start preach religion ever, because you know how these, especially in the workplace.
Yeah.
So I remember she said to me, "You're always singing." I even get free cake at work, because they say, people in the cafeteria, they say, "You're always singing, you're always so happy." So I got a free cake once. They're like, "No, this is for you. You're so nice," and give me a free cake once before. A student, I met a student actually who is now a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
She said to me, "Do you remember me?" I didn't remember, to be honest. I honestly didn't remember her. So I said, "I can't remember." And then she's wearing a mask, so I can't recognize who she was. And she said to me, "I remember you from such and such a ward. And you, when I was a student and you were working there." And she said to me, "You were my favorite nurse, because you were so good at teaching." And I remember she started to talk about what I was teaching her. I can't remember any of that. So people do remember. I tend to tell positive, use words of affirmation to reward my students and to reward children. Because children, I remember that if somebody told me I was doing good, it pushes you or encourages you to do even better, or to carry on doing well. So I think words are very impactful when it comes to children. Well, in my case, is what you say, what you said meant the most to me.
We're talking here with Alethea Salmon, who is a nurse, and talking about life and how she has been impacted by adults and her experience of children being impacted by her without even knowing. But Alethea, I just wanted to go back to what you said about children being so honest, and you take their word that they're not going to try to make anything different. Where do you think that change from being like that as a child to being like adults who are afraid to speak their mind or say things as you would as a child? Where's the change? When did that change? You're working with children in the nursing area. How do they change from being that child to then become shy and timid and not being able to speak?
I think you're taught. You're taught. For example, there was like when we go in to assess our kids, to ask how are you feeling, even if they're 3, how are you feeling? And they're saying this part hurts, and we're asking, when you say it hurts, what does it feel like, and where it hurts? The parents jump in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the kids then repeat exactly what the parents said.
Yeah.
So as children, we are taught how to respond,
Mm-hmm.
how to say stuff and what's acceptable to say. And then it molds us and take us away from being direct and honest and being true to who we are, and developing kind of carrying up as it influence, should I say, encouraging our own personality to come out. Parents, adults around us tend to not understand that each individual have their own personality, and children are very good at articulating. They might not be as specific, but they do also have the ability to articulate for themselves. And you need to just be quiet, let them speak, let them express. If they are struggling, trust me, they will say to you, I don't know how to explain it. They will. Don't speak over them and don't speak for them. Give them a chance to express themselves, and you need to have patience. It can take them a little bit longer to express what they're trying to say. And it's because of the lack of vocabulary they have, because of their age and exposure to words, especially if you're not, you can tell a child that's coming from a home with a teacher. I have a 6-year-old. Is he 6? Because I keep getting confused with his age because his vocabulary is so big.
Yeah.
His mother is a teacher. So therefore, he learns certain words that would form a sentence he can use to express even deeper how he's feeling and what he's trying to say. So adults, I say, have a big impact in suppressing children's voice. We tend to talk over them and for them.
And do you find, you said it's so clear, but, and I've always seen that where children will tell you that I am this, I have this sickness because my parents tell me this. So they then believe everything that their parents say, and they start to become the sickness, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is where the changes happen. So parents, you're out there listening, you hear, give children a chance to express themselves, and don't stop them from explaining. Give them a chance, because it's important. So that change happened there, and children are very honest, and you ask them a question, they will tell you, and we want to have that carrying forward. You talk about the impact that you have had on others, people coming up to you and telling you all that you have done for them without you even knowing.
Yeah.
How does that make you more conscious of your action and your words?
Because I've had the experience of being hurt by things that adults say, I can tell you things I remember being told as a child from an adult that really scarred me up until today. That's made me very sensitive when it comes to certain aspects of life. So therefore, because I know that experience and I'm living that experience. I tend to be very careful of what I say to impressionable minds, and not even also to adults. I don't like to hurt other people's feelings. So therefore I tend to, I end up getting hurt more than most people. And it's because I feel like I can take it better than if I was supposed to hurt somebody else. When it comes to addressing sensitive issues or things that you need to address, things that aren't being done correctly, I struggle with that as an adult, because, as I said, I just don't want to make anyone feel as if they're less than. So when it comes to addressing, like, for
Difficult issues.
example, yeah, for example, if a student at work, but I have to anyway, a student at work isn't performing at the level that they should at this stage in their training, I get really nervous addressing it, but I have to. I tend to obviously take them somewhere private, highlight the good things that they've been doing, and then ask them how they think they're doing, and then kind of bring out the issue, but using questions rather than statements like,
Yep.
you're not doing this properly. I would probably say where it's baking a cake and the cake didn't come out, say the cake burnt because the oven was up too high. Ask, what do you think? How do you think your cake turned out? Obviously, it's burnt, so they're gonna say, "Oh, it burnt." What do you think happened? What do you think caused that? How do you think that happened? And they'll say, "Well, that," and say, "It could be, but also could it also be because of the temperature that you maybe turned it up too high?" So it's addressing it with a question to get them to. So it doesn't seem as if you're pointing any finger or that they're useless. It's just that, oh, maybe I didn't think about that. Then it make them think, oh, maybe that's a good way to look at it. Oh, I didn't think about that. So they see as an opportunity of learning, like I'm giving them some knowledge, and then they're more receptive of that knowledge, rather than, you burnt it, like you turn up the fire, to give them a chance to think about what they could have done. Because sometimes it's just reflection that you need to have you come up with new solutions.
So would you say then that how you treat these or how you respond to difficult situations is how you would have wanted to as a child, or how it was done for you as a child? Which was it?
Yes. That's how I would have wanted someone to approach me. Then it helps you to it make you more receptive to learning if it was done in a sensitive and encouraging way.
So it's about your experience growing up and how you would have wanted not doing the same that way you were treated, but doing it how you would have wanted, because you know the difference it would have made to you.
Yes.
Good. Now, you have talked about your mom being an influence, your teachers. I don't know. You said you didn't listen to music much, and you didn't have, I wouldn't imagine you had a poster of a celebrity on your wall at any point.
Backstreet Boys, that was it. And Mariah Carey.
And that those were your influences in terms of celebrities.
I don't think I had any influences when it comes to celebrity. I literally just like the songs. But I think I got a false hope about what love is. A false perception of what love is.
What is it?
I don't know. I thought it was supposed to be, you grow up and then you meet this lovely guy, and then it's going to be all romantic, and then he's just going to propose, and you're going to get a nice room, and then you're just going to have a house and children. Nobody told me that. People lied. I learned, I promise you, see, I learned that there could be what's the word I'm looking for? Within the family unit. What's the word I'm looking for? Because I didn't know this happened in family. I thought that was just TV.
Okay.
I didn't know there was like discord in family units. I didn't know that until I was 18.
So you didn't see it in your family?
No. No. It was just, I didn't see that. I went to my auntie's house, my mother's sister's house, and our cousins were like our siblings. The older one, you're older, so it goes without saying. I'm younger, you're older, I respect you, you treat me, you look after me, you protect me. I didn't know you had people being mean to family members. That was strange. I learned that when I was 18.
Do you think it was happening, but you just didn't see it, or was it just that you were just oblivious to what was happening because you're enjoying life so much?
It could be both. It could be both. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I've never experienced it or witnessed it. I remember I was in primary school, and my older cousin, he was probably like 2 years older than me or 3 years older than me. And I used to wake up and he used to make us breakfast, me and my other cousin. He was older than me, but he was older than her. And we were looked after and we were protected because he was the oldest one. And that was just always the family that my sister and I kid you not, we've never, you have siblings who fight?
Yeah.
We've never fought, ever. I've got 3 siblings, there are 4 of us, and we've never fought. And it was because we respect the dynamics. The younger one, we protect the younger ones, and they respect the older ones. We've never disrespected each other in words. I had my sister said something to me in a very angry tone, and she rang me back and she said, "I'm so sorry to speak to you for speaking to you like that." And we moved. It was never. We've never fought. It was just not in. I don't know if that was good or bad, because it gave me a false perception of the world, and I really, really struggled in this world. I really struggled.
So this world, you're still struggling with that, with how this world is going. So what are you doing to help young minds who might be going through those same situations? How are you helping young minds to deal with, especially in this pandemic?
I teach a few teens from church, and if you ask them or anyone else, my motto is be nice. Be nice. It goes such a long way. Be nice. It's not nice, and I don't do well with standing by and watching somebody else treat somebody else nice. I don't do that.
Yeah.
I will, and as I said before, I am happy to stand alone while doing something right. I'm happy with that. I don't need a crowd. I don't need company. I'm happy to do it. I will not stand by and watch somebody else treat. And it's because, as you said, Craig, and I didn't realize it until you said it, it's happened to me over and over again. I've been treated horribly in the eyes of public, and nobody stood up for me. The only thing, all that happened is that you come to me privately and say, "Oh yeah, I saw that happen. It wasn't very nice." That's not good enough. That's not good enough. You should have protected me because you saw it happening. So you're just as bad.
So it's about how we, not only with our word, but with our action. So action is coming back, and then how we not only say things, because that is helpful. Yes, you saw it, but you want the action when it matters. Yeah,
when it matters, definitely. So always be nice and stand up for what's right. Always. It goes a long way. You've got no idea of the impact you're having on somebody else, and how you're helping their self-esteem, and how you're helping their mental health as well.
Yeah, that's very true. I know you are, as we wind down in this interview here with Alethea, who is sharing life's experience and realizing that life is not just love is not just the knight in shining armor taking you off to the castle. So you have loved, you have lost, you have had opportunities as you go through life. What made the biggest impact on you now when you look back? What was the biggest thing that happened to you that made the greatest impact?
I probably think it would be as horrible as it might seem, is being kind of like socially excluded, not being and being hurt by people that I loved, and that means friendship groups. So that's one of the biggest impact. That's made one of the biggest impact in my life. It was rough at the time, but looking back, I've learned so much through it. I've learned, even though it's a negative experience, I've learned that, that I don't need a whole big group of friends anymore. And I can do things on my own. I can accomplish them on my own. Not everyone you cheer for is going to receive it positively. There's nothing you can do that will make someone like you. Everyone has their own issues or own things going through, so they're gonna just treat you based on their own experience. But try not to have that negativity impact on you, especially if it's a negative kind of situation. Be true to who you are, and don't let anyone change. I've learned that. Don't let anyone, because I think at one point I got so bitter and so upset that I was hurt by people that I love. I actually went camping somewhere, and there was this girl who was really wanting to be my friend, and I looked at her. This was like 2 years ago. I looked at her and I said, I'm sorry. I know that you want a friendship with me, but I don't want any more friends. I don't want friends. I'm not recruiting any friends. That's it. I've been hurt too many times. I don't want any friends. I actually said that to her because I can be quite brash.
Yeah.
I know that. And so I tend to kind of be quiet sometimes, but if I can't take it anymore, I will just say it as it is. I haven't lost that childhood thing about me, and it's because I didn't learn how to be tactful at times.
So you because of your hurt, you think you have shut down some part of your life at times. And looking back, you said looking back, you have realized that you have learned. So there you go again. You have learned from failures because you are looking back and learning from things that happen and reflecting. So it seems to me you do a lot of reflection and quiet time.
I do all the time, especially when I'm driving alone at home. I reflect a lot because I genuinely, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. So if I said something and I thought, oh my gosh, I probably said it too harsh, or I probably shouldn't have said that, I'll think about it, and then I will call you. I will say, I'm so sorry. I know I said this and whatever. I didn't mean it that way. This is what I was trying to say. I reflect a lot, and it's because of experience. I've been hurt by words and action, so I don't want to do that to somebody else because I know how it hurts, and yeah,
So the impact of life on you, of your life experience, you use that to make sure you're not having someone else experience that. So you're trying to protect younger ones. Now, we're almost at the end of our interview, and Alethea, I want to just thank you so much for all of that you have said, and you have given me your motto, be nice, which, I will always think of. I'm going to ask you, Alethea, you said it at the beginning, you gave me the 3 words that, you think people would describe you as. I'll give you a word and you tell me what comes to mind.
Yeah.
Teachers.
Patient.
Parents.
Loving.
Friends.
Happy.
Family.
Extra loving.
Education.
Important.
Society.
Influential.
Environment.
Calm. I don't know why I said calm.
Food.
Healthy.
Lifestyle.
Happy.
Children.
Happy.
If you, for those, thank you, Alethea, for those people who are listening, and you would want to say one thing, thinking about adults out there, what would you say to them in how they're living their lives and the impact they're having on children that they don't even realize? What would you say to them?
I would say, allow children to use their voice and express what's going on in their heads to you. And all you need to do is just be quiet and listen and talk to them. Because what you want is these children to be comfortable coming to you at any stage and any point in their life to share with you what's going on with them. Because what you don't want, which is happening now, is children are battling with a lot of stuff and they keep it in. And it's because the people who are supposed to be close to them, which is their family members, like parents, brothers, sisters, those family members, they're not able to speak to. So they end up going to people outside the family who might not share the same morals as you. And then they end up turning your kids away from all that you've taught them. So listen, allow children to use their voice. Listen to them and give them positive rewards with your words and most definitely and with your actions. But reward your children. Don't just call them in or say to them, recognize when they're doing something bad or something wrong or something you don't approve of. Let them know when they're doing good. It goes a long way.
And for children who might have not had the experience of a positive influence or, going through challenging time and facing difficulties, how do they overcome the negative impact of what somebody have done or said? What would you say? What would you say to a child who is struggling to deal with difficulties in life?
Life, that's normal. It's not. It comes with life. It comes with growing up. It comes with receiving more responsibilities. Things are not going to always go your way, but that's okay. That's okay. And there is always, find what you're good at and work really hard at it, and it will become successful. Success doesn't mean that you won't fall or fail at sometimes. I know it's difficult for me even at times, because even though I know that, I still use that to push me forward. I still get hurt when I'm told no. I still get hurt. I still cry. But I tell myself, and I look at all those people, look at all those brilliant people, Einstein, look at all our heroes, look at all those brilliant, successful people. They had loads of failures before they had become successful. And we're not any different. We're not any different. So therefore, know that you will fail, but it doesn't mean that you won't reach where you want to be.
You couldn't have said it better, Alethea. Thank you very much. You have, given us lots to think about, lots of experiences that I'm sure others listening can relate to. And I just want to thank you for being so honest, being so open, and sharing your experience to say life impacts us. And we need to remember that the life we live is impacting others. So live our life, mindful of the difference we can make to young minds, to children, and to adults. Thank you very much, Alethea, for joining us today.
You are welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Impact lives influenced by your living. Thank you very much. Join us next time for or another episode of Impact.